drops instead of having to drag her around. Yeah. And so then we do the knee to chest. Her foot comes to my hip crease. Left hand to the top of her right hip. And I lunge forward, taking her knee toward her chest. You can see my right knee is hugging in close to her body. Going maybe a little further each time. Always want it to feel good on your body too, so heart open and lifted. In Thailand, there are many practitioners who are blind, so you don't need to see as much as you need to feel. Good. We'll come into the hamstring stretch. Do the first variation first, sliding my right foot underneath the small of her back, turning to look away from her, catching her leg in my knees. My right knee is going to be above her knee on the thigh, so you're not kneecap to kneecap. And just pulling it, her leg toward me, I can use my right forearm to flex her foot. And again, I can squeeze her calf as I flex her foot. Good. Going deeper, left foot on the top of her right thigh, my left hand just above her knee, sending her foot toward her, my palm cupping her heel there. Good. And if you wanted to go deeper, you could come into this variation here. So you're just more in a lunge. And then there's the pin and stretch. Her knee bends. My left knee comes to the base of her femur there, and I'll just send her foot toward her head. Slowly, and listening for the body's feedback. And then shifting up a little higher to the belly of her hamstring. There. And a little higher still. And again, you might stay a little longer than I'm doing here. Good. And then just kind of readjust the hips. Give them a little swing into place. Supine twist, knee to chest, hamstring. Good. So now I'm going to come to her abdomen. But first I'm going to make sure she's comfy and supported. I'll adjust this pillow. Lift your head on my knee. And I'll just, if you feel crooked, feel free to realign. It's fine. Okay. So I'm just going to palm press the abdomen. There are lots of little energy points here, which we aren't getting into this weekend. But it's a hub. It's where the energy lines kind of intersect. So when you work the abdomen, there's a sense of working all of the main energy lines, or the Sen Siv, the 10 energy lines. So we'll start at the left lower quadrant of the abdomen, just pressing down toward the pubic bone and toward the navel. So you're kind of pulling away from the head and toward the navel. And in Thai theory, it's energy moves through the orifice of the navel. But also in just Western physiology, we're working through the descending colon, and we're clearing that, and then going up above, pushing down from the transverse, and then coming around, pushing up and over from the ascending colon. So you can place one hand on top of the other, and the belly can be super, super sensitive, so you want to go slowly. Generally, I'll go with their exhale. And it's just kind of circling. gently. So you clear below to make room for what's above to come down and out. And you're pushing, it's kind of like you're pushing the contents of the abdomen that way, in a clockwise way. You could also finger circle, but it goes deeper and it's a little more pointed, so and a little more intimate. Yeah. So you could do a few passes around the abdomen like that, and then you can just kind of lightly circle in a clockwise motion, and then just rest your hands as a sort of grounding, soothing, stillness moment. And her breath became nearly suspended for a moment there in that stillness, as sometimes the mind will too in those moments. Nice. And let's see, abdomen. So we'll come up to the arms, to the chest rather. And we'll do a little arm pulls. And I'm just going to step across her, taking both her arms at the wrists. I'm just going to kind of go side to side. And again, my knees are bending, my heart is high, and I'm just rocking her. And it's really more that I'm rocking me, and she's being carried along for the ride. You could hold her for a moment in one of these stretches. And release her down slowly. Hold her on the other side. Wiggle, wiggle. Sometimes that's nice, or sometimes it's nice to just go real slow, bringing her back to the ground. I'm going to slide my hands underneath her scapula, going like this, and then flipping them over, and then pulling her scapula down her back. I'll squat here. I flipped, and then I'm pulling her scapula down her back, trying not to pull her hair. And then I'm going to give a wiggle, wiggle, wiggle to her ribs and hips. Good. And then I'll press the shoulders down. And that just opens the heart and repositions the scapula down the back, which feels relaxing usually. Good. Palm press chest, press chest. Okay. So I'm going to kneel now across her body so that my back is more comfortable. So my right knee's on the ground, whatever side you prefer to lunge on, and I like to mix it up so I'm not being so asymmetrical. I'm going to take my hands in prayer position, and I'm going to keep them in a soft prayer, so there's a little opening in this prayer, and use the pinky edge of the hands right here at the sternum and just draw the sternum away from the throat. And then maybe move a little higher, and again, the pinky edge of the hands, the soft pinky flesh. And you can come also to just above the breast tissue, pulling down away from the collarbone there. Same thing on the other side. Just sort of opening the heart center. There are lots of lung points here. So it's good for any congestion in the lungs. You can kind of just thumb right along there below the clavicle. Yeah, and sometimes I'll just place one hand on the other and give a little downward pressure toward the ground and toward her feet at the same time. Nothing too firm, but just enough to ground and open. Yeah, and sometimes just a little wiggle helps, again, kind of just loosen and free up. Good. So I'll come to her right arm now. And I'm going to give a little traction to her right arm. Placing my right foot in her armpit, I'm handshaking with her with my right hand. Left hand comes to just below her wrist, and I'm going to pull, leaning back, heart high. Good. And then I'll use my right foot to send her shoulder back to herself. Yeah, and Amy, if you want, you can keep your head turned to the left and see how it feels as I draw here. Sometimes people like that, sometimes people prefer to just let the head roll, so you can give options. And I'm also externally rotating her arm. So I send the shoulder back and I turn the palm down. When I draw length on the arm, I turn the palm up. It usually gives a little stretch here to the biceps, along here. Sometimes I'll even thumb that as I pull. Does that feel good?
That's great.
Okay. Yeah, so you can hold in the pulled position and give a little squeeze there. Good. And then just replace that. Okay. So we can do a single scap adjustment. So we'll just focus on one scap at a time. I'm lifting her arm with my left arm. My right hand is going to slide under her scapula. And then I'll let it sit in my hand as I lower her arm to the ground. My left hand comes to the top of her shoulder. I'm cupping her shoulder as my right hand is holding the shoulder blade. And I'm going to pull down with my right hand to draw her scapula down the back as I roll the top of her shoulder toward the ground. So it's a little loop there, a little shoulder loop. And then my right hand comes to where my left hand was. Left hand just kind of anchors her hand as I press that shoulder down. It's just a very grounding, opening, sends the scapula home, and the nervous system relaxes. Good. And then I usually just give a little squeeze to the arm there. And so we'll palm press the right hand and arm. And again, I'll bring yin pressure in, side to side, draw yang out, both hands at the same time. So starting at the hand, walking upward, and I'm just rocking side to side. I'm going to come into a lunge to keep my back long, my heart open. And again, I'm not muscling with my arms. I'm just rocking my hips side to side like a lumbering elephant. And just letting the movement be oceanic and rhythmic. And I like to kind of give a squeeze and pull here up around the deltoids. Yeah, and then anchor the shoulder again, and we'll go down with bringing the yang out. And sometimes I'll exhale with a little coo, just to remind them to feel free to express any sounds or let the breath out, let energy move. You could come back up with yin, you could come up with a squeeze, you know, so you be creative and use your intuition too, and let the energy flow through you the way that it wants to, and trust that, and they'll give you feedback if something doesn't feel good, hopefully. And then the little stroking to sort of integrate and disperse. Good. Hands and arms. Then you can flip the arm and palm along the outside arm line. So as we're working in this broad way, we're touching into the various energy lines along here, stimulating them in a broad, general way. In later trainings, you can learn where those energy lines are and how to thumb them in a more specific and therapeutic